What's up, everyone, and welcome back to the MMA Zone. Today, let's get started with DC saying legacy, not popularity, is everlasting in response to Sean O'Malley. Former champ Daniel Cormier has been getting some flack for his color commentary during UFC broadcasts, and Sugar Sean O'Malley recently went public with his criticisms of DC's calls. Ever since retiring from the sport in August 2020, DC has made a home for himself on the broadcast table, where he's been calling some of the top pay-per-view events over the last 2 years, in addition to fight night events. But in a recent appearance on the DC and RC show, O'Malley told DC exactly why he didn't like his commentary on some fights, and he created a bit of tension during the show. O'Malley later went on his own podcast to follow up on those comments, saying that he feels Cormier just has it out for him and doesn't really like him. Well, Cormier is now issuing a response to him, and in a recent episode of the DC and RC show, he let loose that he does like O'Malley, but when it comes to fighting, he doesn't care if he wins or loses. This is the crux of what Cormier said.
Because until Sean O'Malley starts to win some championships and get all the way to the top of the game, bro, like, popularity fades, right? Legacy lasts, and my legacy will stand the test of time. So, Sean, I don't dislike you. I do not want to see you lose because, frankly, I don't really care all that much.
O'Malley isn't the only one with a bone to pick over Cormier's commentary, as other fighters like Justin Gaethje and Tony Ferguson themselves have accused DC of being biased against them while he calls their fights. What do you think about DC's commentary? Do you think he's a bit biased when he calls fights? Or do you feel that fighters are just being a bit sensitive here? Let us know in the comments. Jorge Masvidal says Conor McGregor's about to overdose and wants to fight him before it happens. Jorge Masvidal is continuing to push for a big-time bout against Conor McGregor whenever the Irishman returns from a broken leg injury later this year. McGregor broke his leg nearly a year ago during his trilogy bout against Dustin Poirier last July. He's been on the shelf ever since, poking fun at other fighters and deleting those tweets while also getting swole. Real swole. Masvidal has been trading verbal jabs with Conor on several occasions, especially because Conor stated he wanted to come back and fight in the welterweight division. Conor is a former champion in the 155-pound division and has also fought at 170, most famously against Nate Diaz. He's also fought Donald Cerrone at 170, so a fight against Masvidal at 170 pounds wouldn't be out of the norm. Gamebred continues to try and goad Conor into taking a fight against him, and in his latest threat, this is what Masvidal said in an interview with Block Asset.
Before this guy overdoses on cocaine and then the fight never happens and I don't get to make all that easy money, I just want to break Conor's face. Just, let's get that paycheck, let's get that out of the way. Sell the most pay-per-views ever before this guy does harm to himself or somebody else. And I just boom, get that check real quick because I got kids, right? I need the fucking money.
Masvidal goes on to say that if not Conor, he'd be up for fighting Gilbert Burns, given the fact that both are top welterweight contenders and they bring the heat. So it would be a great fight for the fans and could sell really well. Masvidal is on a 3-fight losing skid, coming off a loss at the hands of his former friend in Colby Covington at UFC 272 this past March. He's also facing charges of aggravated battery and criminal mischief over a physical altercation involving Covington outside of a Miami Beach restaurant 2 weeks after their fight. He's due back in court on August 31st. Still, what do you think about Masvidal calling out Conor? And do you want to see this fight? Who do you think would come out victorious here? Ciryl Gane believes a win over Tai Tuivasa could give him interim title shot. It's been nearly half a year since Ciryl Gane lost his interim heavyweight title to Francis Ngannou at UFC 270 in January, where the Cameroon native unified the title. Gane, who had been on an impressive run until then, says he's keen to get back into title shot contention. In order to do so, he feels he has to beat Tai Tuivasa in the headline bout at UFC Paris in early September. The September 3rd event at the Accor Arena will be the first time a UFC show will take place in the French capital, and Gane will certainly try to put on an exceptional performance after losing to his former sparring partner in Ngannou earlier this year. Case in point, this is what Gane told MMA Fighting in a recent interview.
I think if tomorrow I win against Tuivasa, I think it's going to be a fight for the interim title against the winner of the next fight for the interim title. So this is put me a little bit back, but this is put me more challenge, so I'm okay.
Ciryl Gane remains the #1 ranked heavyweight, while Tuivasa, who is also on a roll himself with 5 wins, 5 knockouts, and is also on a title shot door as well. Tuivasa is a very popular figure with charisma for days, and there's no doubt that the UFC would try to push him towards an interim bout given his penchant for knocking out opponents and his celebrity antics. Throughout the interview, Gane says he's been working on his grappling after Ngannou manhandled him in that department, and he's eager to show that he's made the necessary adjustments. Still, it'll be a tough task against someone like Tuivasa, who has shown he can brawl with the best of them and shut the lights off of anyone with just a single blow. What do you think? Do you feel the UFC Paris main event will be a title shot eliminator? Don't forget to take a second to hit that like button and subscribe to the MMA Zone to stay up to date on all of the latest fight news. Dana White says he's up for giving Alexander Volkanovski a champ versus champ fight. Alexander Volkanovski has been lights out in the UFC and dominant as champion. He's dispatched the top featherweights in the world and has a big trilogy bout against Max Holloway set up for July 2nd at UFC 276. It's a big fight, despite the fact that Volkanovski has already come out on top in both of the previous matchups before. Holloway remains the #1 contender, even after Volkanovski beat Ortega and the Korean Zombie. Volkanovski is building an incredible legacy and has revealed plans to possibly move up in weight and challenge for the lightweight title in the future to become a champ. It's an intriguing proposition, as Volkanovski has proven to be the best featherweight in the world and will get another chance to showcase that on July 2nd when he defends his title and fights Holloway for a 3rd time. If he beats Holloway this 3rd time and even possibly finishes him, Volk made mention that he would think about challenging for the 155-pound strap. UFC President Dana White thinks it's a pretty neat idea. This is how he responded when asked about Volkanovski's request during a recent interview with The Mac Life.
Volkanovski is one of those guys who has earned the respect of everybody, I would say, by now. You know, he's got this Holloway fight that probably makes sense for him to do this and put this behind him. Then you don't have to hear about it anymore. And that guy can do whatever he wants to do. I mean, if he wants to move up and challenge somebody at 55 or whatever he want to do, I'm down for whatever he wants.
The 33-year-old Volkanovski has won 21 straight bouts, an incredibly impressive streak, with his lone career loss having taken place all the way back in 2013, 9 whole years ago, in a regional Australian promotion. What do you think? If Volkanovski beats Holloway a 3rd time, do you want to see him challenge for the lightweight title next? Joe Lauzon says he wants Cowboy Cerrone fight next, no matter what. Joe Lauzon is not interested in fighting anyone else but Cowboy Cerrone. The Massachusetts native was scheduled to fight Cowboy last weekend at UFC Austin until a knee injury the day before the event forced him out of the fight. It was a disappointment given the fact that this same fight had already been rescheduled from its original date at UFC 274. In that time, Cerrone had to pull out of the fight the day of the event due to food poisoning. In the wake of the fight being called off for a 2nd time, UFC President Dana White said he wasn't interested in booking this fight for a 3rd time. However, Lauzon is not really keen on seeing anyone else in the octagon other than Cowboy. Case in point, this is what Lauzon stated during a recent interview with MMA on SiriusXM.
I definitely want this fight now. You know, like we spent too much time getting ready for Cowboy to not go and see how it's gonna, go and see it through. So like for me right now, it's definitely Cowboy or bust. You know what I mean? Like if he's interested in it, then it's Cowboy or bust. That's the fight I want. I think that's the fight he wants.
Lauzon hasn't fought since October 2019 when he earned a TKO victory in the 1st round against Jonathan Pierce. Meanwhile, Cowboy has gone 0-5 in his last 6 fights, with 1 no contest, and is coming off a loss to Alex Morono via 1st round TKO last year. What do you think about Lauzon saying he wants to fight Cowboy only in his next fight? Today's video was packed with some juicy stories from the fight world. What are your thoughts about what's going on in MMA? Don't forget to smash the like button and subscribe to the MMA Zone to see more videos just like this. See you next time.